Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a fascinating topic for all you coin collectors and history buffs out there. We're exploring the top 6 1-cent coins from the United States that have not only historical significance but also incredible value. So let's get into it. 1962 1 cent. Here it is, the 1962 1-cent coin, also known as the Lincoln penny. This coin is a fascinating example of mid-20th century American currency. Let's break down its history, design, and value. First, a bit of background. The 1962 penny was minted during a period of economic stability in the United States. It's part of the series that began in 1909, commemorating Abraham Lincoln's 100th birthday with the iconic Lincoln portrait on the obverse. This design, created by Victor David Brenner, has been a staple of American coinage for decades. On the front of the coin, we see the bust of President Abraham Lincoln facing right. The inscription "In God We Trust" arches over his head, while Liberty in the year 1962 are inscribed to the left and right of his bust, respectively. Turning the coin over, we see the reverse design featuring the Lincoln Memorial. The inscription 1 cent is prominently displayed at the bottom, and the words United States of America are inscribed above. This design by Frank Gasparo replaced the earlier wheat penny reverse in 1959. Now let's talk about value. In 1962, these pennies were made in large quantities with a total mintage of around 1.5 billion coins. This high mintage means that most 1962 pennies are not particularly rare. However, the condition of the coin greatly affects its value. Here's a quick guide to the value based on different grades. Circulated coins: if your 1962 penny is in average circulated condition, it's worth about 1 to 2 cents. Uncirculated coins that have never been used in everyday transactions and are in mint condition can fetch around 10 to 20 cents. High-grade proof: some 1962 pennies were struck as proof coins and can be worth more, typically ranging from a few dollars depending on their condition and certification. To determine the grade, you'll want to look for key details like the condition of Lincoln's portrait, the clarity of the inscriptions, and the overall cleanliness of the coin. Higher grade coins are rarer and more sought after by collectors. If you're interested in collecting 1962 pennies, here are a few tips. Check for errors. Some 1962 pennies have minor minting errors, which can be more valuable. Look for double dies or unusual variations. Preserve properly. Store your coins in a cool, dry place and use proper coin holders to avoid damage. Get expert opinions. If you think you have a rare or valuable coin, consider having it professionally graded. 1965 1 cent. The 1965 1 cent coin, also known as the Lincoln penny, was produced during a particularly interesting period in American coinage. As many of you might know, 1965 was a transitional year for U.S. currency. Let's dig into the history, design, and value of this particular coin. In the early 1960s, the United States faced a coin shortage crisis, which was driven by rising metal costs and a surge in demand. In response, the U.S. Mint decided to make some changes to the composition of its coins. For the 1 cent piece, this meant moving away from the traditional bronze alloy. Prior to 1965, the Lincoln penny was made from a bronze alloy consisting of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. However, due to the rising cost of copper, the Mint transitioned to a new composition of 95% copper-plated zinc. This change was reflected in the 1965 penny, which featured a copper-plated zinc core. Visually, the 1965 penny looks very similar to its predecessors. The obverse features Abraham Lincoln's portrait, designed by Victor David Brenner, and the reverse displays the traditional wheat ears designed by the same artist. However, if you look closely, you'll notice a subtle difference in the composition and weight. The 1965 penny weighs about 2.5 grams, which is slightly less than the older bronze versions. Now let's talk about the value of the 1965 penny. Despite being a significant year in terms of coin composition changes, the 1965 1 cent coin is not particularly rare. In fact, millions were produced, making it relatively common in the market today. As of now, a 1965 penny in average circulated condition is worth just about 1 cent its face value. However, if you have an uncirculated or pristine example, it might fetch a premium of a few dollars. The high-grade specimens or those with unique errors can be worth more, but these are relatively rare. The 1965 penny is a fascinating piece of history, not just because of its change in composition, but also because it represents a pivotal moment in American coinage. Collectors often find value in the historical context, even if the coin itself isn't particularly rare. Indeed, understanding the historical context of a coin adds a layer of appreciation that goes beyond its face value. So next time you find a 1965 penny in your pocket change, you can appreciate the little piece of history it represents. 1992 1 cent. The 1992 1 cent coin, commonly known as the Lincoln penny, is part of a long tradition of American coinage. Introduced in 1909 to commemorate Abraham Lincoln's 100th birthday, this coin features the 16th President of the United States on the obverse and a depiction of the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. However, the design did change over time. In 1959, the original design was replaced with the Lincoln Memorial reverse to mark the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. This design remained unchanged until 2009, when the penny celebrated Lincoln's bicentennial with a series of new reverses. But in 1992, we're still looking at the classic Lincoln Memorial design. Now let's talk about mint marks. The 1992 penny was minted in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Philadelphia mint mark is absent, but Denver coins have a D mint mark and San Francisco coins have an S. The vast majority of 1992 pennies you'll encounter will be from the Denver mint, so keep an eye out for those mint marks. One interesting fact is that 1992 saw a significant number of pennies being produced. In fact, the Denver mint alone struck over 8 billion of these coins, so finding a 1992 penny in your change isn't too surprising. So what's the value of a 1992 penny? In general, circulated 1992 pennies are worth just 1 cent their face value. However, if you have a coin in mint condition, especially if it's from the San Francisco Mint with the S mark, it can be worth a bit more. Uncirculated examples can fetch anywhere from $1 to $5, depending on their condition and rarity. For collectors, the most valuable 1992 pennies are those with errors or unique characteristics. While the 1992 penny is not particularly rare or valuable in itself, looking out for minting errors or special varieties can make your coin collection more exciting. If you're lucky enough to have a 1992 penny you want to keep in pristine condition, here are a few tips. Always handle coins with care. Ideally, use gloves to prevent oils from your fingers from transferring to the coin. Store your pennies in a cool, dry place and consider using coin holders or holders to keep them safe from wear and tear. 1969 1 cent. The 1969 1 cent coin, often referred to as the 1969 penny, this coin is a classic example of U.S. currency that has captured the interest of collectors for decades. But what makes this penny special? Let's break it down. First off, let's talk about its basic details. The 1969 penny features the iconic Lincoln design by Victor David Brenner. On the obverse or front, you'll see a profile of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th president of the United States. On the reverse or back is the familiar image of the Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo. The 1969 penny was minted in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Here's where things start to get interesting. The Philadelphia and Denver mints produced regular circulation coins, but the San Francisco mint struck proof coins, which are usually more pristine and intended for collectors. Now, let's talk about the variations and what might make your 1969 penny worth more than its face value. The most notable of these is the 1969 S double die obverse. This rare variety occurs when the coin's die used to strike the coin has a doubling effect, causing the inscriptions on the obverse to appear doubled. Look for doubling on the letters of "In God We Trust, Liberty" and the date. The 1969 S double die is highly sought after by collectors and can be worth a significant amount. In fact, depending on its condition and grading, this coin can fetch anywhere from a few $100s to over $100,000. The regular 1969 pennies, those not featuring the double die, are still interesting but much less valuable. A typical 1969 penny in good condition is worth just a few cents. However, mint state or uncirculated versions might fetch a bit more, usually between $0.50 and $2.50. If you're checking your change or your coin collection for this penny, remember that condition plays a huge role in its value. Coins are graded on a scale from poor to mint state, and the higher the grade, the more valuable the coin. Lastly, let's touch on the historical context of the 1969 penny. This was a year of significant historical events: the Apollo 11 moon landing, the Woodstock Music Festival, and political turbulence. It's always fun to think about the history and events that were happening when these coins were minted. 1973 1 cent. The 1973 1 cent coin, commonly known as the Lincoln penny, was minted in the United States during a period of change in the country's economic and political landscape. But what makes this coin special? Let's break it down. The 1970s were a time of transition in the U.S. marked by various significant events, including the end of the Vietnam War and the Watergate scandal. The economy was also experiencing inflation, which had an impact on coinage and currency. The 1973 penny is part of the Lincoln Cent series, which began in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the obverse features Lincoln's profile, while the reverse showcases the iconic Lincoln Memorial. On the obverse of the 1973 penny, you'll see Lincoln's bust facing right, with the inscriptions "Liberty" and "In God We Trust." The reverse displays the Lincoln Memorial with the words 1 cent and United States of America. This design remained largely unchanged from 1959 to 2008. In 1973, the U.S. Mint produced over 3.7 billion pennies, making it a common year for this coin. It was minted at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, with the Denver version featuring a D mint mark. Now let's talk about the value. The 1973 1 cent coin is generally not considered rare or highly valuable in everyday transactions. Most are worth their face value 1 cent. However, if you're a collector, certain factors can affect its value. For example, coins in mint state condition or with specific errors can be worth more. Some 1973 pennies might have minor errors or variations that could make them more valuable to collectors. For instance, look out for doubling or misprints. Additionally, coins that have been well preserved or are in uncirculated condition could fetch a premium price. To sum it up, while the 1973 1-cent coin is not particularly rare or valuable in most cases, it's a great piece of American numismatic history. It reflects the design and production practices of its time and serves as a reminder of the era in which it was minted. 1978 1 cent. The 1978 1-cent coin, commonly known as the Lincoln penny. This coin features the iconic image of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse or front side and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse side. This design has been standard for the penny since 1959, celebrating the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. On the obverse, you'll find a profile of Abraham Lincoln, which was designed by Victor David Brenner. This particular portrait of Lincoln is one of the most recognizable images in American numismatics. On the reverse side, we see the Lincoln Memorial designed by Frank Gasparo. This design was in use from 1959 until 2008, when it was replaced by the Union Shield design. The memorial represents Lincoln's legacy and has become a cherished symbol on the penny. Now let's talk about the value of the 1978 penny. For most collectors, this penny is considered a common coin. In terms of its numismatic value, a typical 1978 penny in average circulated condition is worth just its face value of 1 cent. However, the value can vary depending on the condition of the coin. Coins are graded on a scale from poor to mint state. For a 1978 penny, here's what you might expect. Circulated condition, these coins usually don't command much above face value. You might be looking at around 1 to 2 cents depending on the market. Uncirculated condition, if you have a penny that's in mint condition without any wear and tear, it could be worth 5 to 10 cents or more. Proof coin special proof versions, which are struck with more care and usually have a mirror-like finish, might fetch a higher price, but not significantly. They might go for around 25 to 50 cents or more if they're in pristine condition. Keep in mind that market conditions can fluctuate, so it's always a good idea to check recent sales data if you're looking to buy or sell. To sum up, the 1978 1-cent coin is a great example of American numismatic history. While it's not particularly rare or valuable in the grand scheme of things, it's a nice piece to have in your collection, especially if you're interested in the history of American coinage. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about other coins, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give us a thumbs up. Also, drop a comment below if you have any questions or if there's a specific coin you'd like us to cover next.